Have you ever had a feeling so strong, so loud, that it drowned out every other thought in your head? That night, in the middle of a snowstorm, I ignored every rule of kindness I was ever taught, because something told me, do not stop. Whatever you do, do not stop the car. And maybe that's the only reason I'm still alive. It started that evening. I was driving home from my parents' cabin about 3 hours out of town. The snow had been falling for hours, turning the world into a thick, white blur. The highway was empty. It felt like I was the only person alive. The deeper I drove, the worse it got. Visibility was almost nothing. The road signs were coated in ice. It felt like time didn't exist anymore. Just me, the storm, and the endless crunch of tires over snow. That's when I saw him. A man, standing by the side of the road, waving, staggering a little, barely dressed for the cold, no coat, no gloves, just a soaked hoodie and jeans. My foot hovered over the brake. Everything inside me screamed to stop. This was a human being. But then something else, deep and primal, said, no. Keep driving. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear the storm anymore. I drove past him. And for a second, just a second, he turned his head toward me and smiled. That smile wasn't normal. It wasn't grateful. It was knowing, like he knew something I didn't. I drove faster, heart hammering in my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that if I had stopped, I wouldn't be telling you this story right now. I made it home hours later, shaken and exhausted. The storm raged outside my window all night. And I kept thinking about him, that face, that smile. The next morning I turned on the news. There had been reports of carjackings, people posing as stranded drivers during the storm, and then disappearing with whoever stopped to help. One victim's car was found empty, doors open, engine still running. Footprints in the snow led into the forest, but they just stopped. No one was ever found. I still wonder sometimes, what would have happened if I stopped? What was waiting out there, wearing that man's face like a mask? Now, whenever I see someone waving by the side of the road, I just keep driving, because kindness can get you killed, especially when it's not a person you're helping. But something pretending to be one. Have you ever thought you were alone, only to realize you weren't? I didn't believe in horror stories until I heard the footsteps above my head in my attic. And by the time I found out the truth, it was almost too late. It started on a rainy night. I was curled up on the couch reading when I heard it. Soft, deliberate footsteps above me. I froze. My house didn't even have a proper attic, just a crawl space. At first, I told myself it was the storm playing tricks, but the sound wasn't random. It was walking, pacing. You tried to laugh it off. Old houses make noises, right? That's what I told myself as I double-locked the doors and tried to sleep. But that night, I dreamed of someone standing over me, breathing, watching. When I woke up, the door to my bedroom was open. It didn't stop. Every time it rained, the footsteps came back, soft at first, like whoever, or whatever it was, got braver. Sometimes I could swear I heard the faint creak of the attic hatch moving, or breathing coming from the vents. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight and dragged a chair under the attic hatch. My heart hammered in my chest. I pulled the string, and the door dropped open. A rush of cold, moldy air spilled out. The ladder creaked as I climbed. Up there, the beam of my flashlight shook in my hand. Nothing but dust and cobwebs, or so I thought. Just as I was about to climb down, I saw it, a pile of empty food wrappers, and next to it, muddy footprints leading deeper into the darkness. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe it was animals. Maybe it was old junk left by the previous owner. But deep down, I knew the truth. Something or someone was living above me, watching me, waiting for the rain to hide their movements. A week later, the worst storm yet rolled in. Wind screamed through the trees, rain hammered the windows, and that's when I heard it again. Footsteps. But this time they didn't stay in the attic. They moved down the hall, toward my bedroom door. I held my breath, clutching the phone with shaking hands, but I was too scared to move. The doorknob rattled once, then nothing. Silence. I finally called the police. They thought I was being paranoid, but they agreed to send someone over. While I waited, I sat in the corner of my room with a baseball bat, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the rain anymore. When the officers arrived, I heard them moving through the house, and then the shout. "Up here!" They had found the attic hatch open, found the footprints, found the piles of food, and tucked into the darkest corner, they found him. A man, filthy, wild-eyed, crouching like an animal. He had been living there for weeks, climbing down when I slept, stealing my food, watching me, sometimes standing just inches from my bed. They arrested him, but that didn't fix everything. I moved out a month later. But I still wake up sometimes, thinking I hear footsteps above me. Because the worst part isn't that someone was living in my attic. The worst part is how long it took me to notice, how close he was, every night. And how sometimes, even after moving to a new house, I swear, I can still hear them. If you like these horror stories, please like and share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more true horror stories. Have you ever had the feeling someone was watching you? Not just once, not by chance, but night after night from the same spot without moving? I did, and it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. The man in the yellow raincoat stood across the street from my house almost every night, watching my window. And one stormy night, he tried to open the front door. I was 16 when it started. We just moved into a quiet cul-de-sac in a small town in Washington. It rained a lot, nothing unusual. At first I thought the guy in the raincoat was just some lonely neighbor, maybe harmless. But then I realized he never came up the driveway, never knocked, never moved. He just stood there. It was a Tuesday. Rain was falling hard. I was doing homework in my room when I noticed him, right across the street, no umbrella, no motion. Just standing there, facing my window. I thought maybe he was waiting for someone, but he didn't leave. He just stayed until midnight, then vanished. The next night, he was there again, and the next. Always at the same time, 9 p.m., always looking up at my window. I told my parents, but they just brushed it off. He's probably walking home, my mom said. But no one just stands in the rain for hours, every night. I started filming him with my phone, but every time I watched the footage, he wasn't there. Just empty sidewalk, pouring rain, and the sound of wind. Even though I saw him, every night, it was like he didn't want to be remembered. The sixth night, something changed. At exactly 11:33 p.m., he tilted his head, just slightly, like he knew I was watching. Then he raised his hand and waved. I set up the doorbell camera, just in case. The next night it caught something. At 3:12 a.m., someone walked up to the porch, the yellow raincoat. He didn't knock. He tried the doorknob. He whispered something too quiet to hear. Then he walked away, backwards. We called the cops. They said no one was out there when they came. They reviewed the footage. Nothing was there. Just static. My parents thought I was having nightmares. But I knew I wasn't. I knew he was real. Then the dream started. I saw him, standing in my bedroom, water dripping onto the carpet. He leaned over my bed and whispered, "You left the window unlocked." I woke up screaming. The window was open. The last night, the storm was worse than ever. Thunder shook the house. At 2:47 a.m., the power went out. Then came the sound. The front door creaking open, step by step by step. I locked my door and hid in the closet. I could hear his footsteps getting closer, floorboards groaning, then silence. I waited for what felt like hours, but he never opened the door, because he was already inside. They say I imagined it, but I know what I saw. They found wet footprints in the hallway, but blamed the dog. There was water in the closet, but no one believes me. I haven't slept in weeks. This morning a package arrived, no return address. Inside was a rain-soaked yellow coat and a note. It said, "Now it's your turn to watch." You ever feel like someone's watching you, even when you're alone in the middle of nowhere? Let me ask you something. If you woke up in your tent during a thunderstorm and saw a stranger just sitting at your dead campfire, not moving, not speaking, what would you do? I didn't think. I just ran. And what I found out later still keeps me up at night. This happened in the mountains of northern Washington, and I swear to you, this is real. It was supposed to be a solo weekend camping trip, just me, the woods, and no cell service. I'd driven 6 hours into the Cascade Mountains to find the most remote site I could, and I did. No people, no noise, just wind, trees, and time to clear my head. The first night was peaceful, but by the second, something felt wrong. It started raining that second night, not just rain, pouring. Thunder, non-stop, wind tearing through the trees. My fire went out. I stayed zipped inside my tent, trying to sleep. But sometime around 2 a.m., I woke up. Not from the storm, from a feeling, the kind that grabs you from the gut. I heard nothing, no branches snapping, no footsteps, but I knew something was outside. I peeked out through the flap, and that's when I saw it. A person, sitting right where my fire had been, motionless, head down, soaked. They weren't doing anything, just sitting there, in complete silence, not shivering, not reacting to the rain, just there. I whispered, "Hey?" No response. I asked louder. Nothing. My stomach dropped. I didn't wait. I didn't ask. I grabbed my backpack, shoved what I could inside, and bolted. I left half my gear behind and sprinted through the mud, lightning flashing all around me. I never looked back, not once. I didn't want to see if they were following. I made it to my car, drenched and shaking. I drove until I found a signal, booked the nearest motel. I didn't sleep. My mind kept going back to that figure. Why were they just sitting there? Why didn't they say anything? It felt wrong, not human somehow, like I wasn't supposed to see them. The next morning I turned on the news in the motel lobby. My stomach turned cold. They found a missing person, near the exact spot where I'd camped, only they weren't alive. The body had been sitting out in the rain for 3 days. 3 days. So whatever I saw at my fire that night, it wasn't alive either. The coroner said the body had been sitting in the same posture, legs crossed, head down, for days. Exactly how I saw them. I've thought about it every day since. Why did I see it? Why me? Sometimes I wonder if it knew I was there, if it let me go, or if it's just waiting for me to come back. Sometimes I hear things when I try to sleep, a crackling fire that isn't there, breathing just outside my window, a whisper I can't quite make out. But the worst part, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I smell smoke, like someone's restarted the fire, like someone came back to finish camping, and I wonder if I'll ever wake up one night and see them sitting there again. Have you ever heard someone crying in the woods when you knew no one should be there? We were 6 hours deep into the forest, caught in a rainstorm with no cell signal and no clear path back, when we heard it, a woman sobbing, alone, somewhere ahead of us. But when we called out to help, the crying stopped, and something else answered. It growled. We were hiking Mount Akagi in Gunma. Me, my brother Tom, our friend Aki, and 2 other friends, Kenji and Sato. It wasn't a long trail, but the rain hit early, and the forest swallowed the light fast. The trees out there are old, tall, thick, like they've been watching for centuries. And when the storm came in, everything started to feel off. The forest went too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the sound of water and boots in the mud. Then we heard it. It was faint at first, a woman crying, soft, muffled, almost behind the trees. We stopped, looked around. No one should have been out here this late, not in this weather. Aki whispered, "Should we check it out?" We all agreed. We couldn't just leave someone out there, so we called out, "Hey, are you okay?" The crying stopped, instantly. Then something growled, low, deep, and close. I've heard wild dogs, bears, even boars, but this didn't sound like anything alive. We froze. No one spoke. The growl faded, but not away. It just lowered, like it was watching us. Tom stepped back and whispered, "We need to leave. Now." But Sato kept staring into the woods. "I saw something," he said. "A woman in white. She was standing between the trees." There was no one there now. We turned around, tried to go back, but the trail was gone. The same trees, same rocks, but nothing looked right anymore. It was like the forest changed behind us. Kenji pulled out the map. "We should be near the creek. There's a fork." There was no fork, Tom said, but now there was a split path, one side uphill, one going deeper, and something wet was dragging across the downhill path. We went uphill, fast, but the crying came back. Only now it was right behind us, then ahead of us, then all around us. It sounded wrong, mocking, like someone pretending to cry, then laughing. Sato slipped, screamed. When we helped him up, he was bleeding. Something had scratched across his back, but there was no one there. We kept climbing until we found something strange. A clearing, a small stone shrine, cracked and covered in moss. Beside it, torn cloth, strings of paper charms, and a wooden plaque with characters none of us could read. But on the stone steps, there were fresh footprints, bare, small, leading into the forest. Tom whispered, "Someone's following us." I whispered back, "I think something's leading us." The crying was behind us again, louder than before, almost inhuman. We turned to run, but the woman was there, right in front of us, soaked white kimono, head down, hair covering her face. She was shaking, crying. Tom reached out. She snapped her head up, no eyes, just deep, hollow sockets, and her mouth was too wide. She screamed. We ran. Branches tore at our clothes. We didn't care. The crying chased us, and then it turned into screeching. We ran until the forest changed again, until we saw the trail, a signpost, the road. We didn't stop until we were in the car, locked inside. No one spoke on the drive home, but I swear, when we passed the tree line, I heard her one last time, whispering my name. We tried to forget. But 3 weeks later, Sato went missing. They found his gear near that trail. No body, just drag marks. I still hear crying sometimes when it rains. And once I heard it from the woods behind my house. If you're ever hiking and hear a woman crying, don't answer. She doesn't want help. She wants to find you. Have you ever seen something only when the lightning flashes? Something that shouldn't be there? Something that makes your heart stop because you know, deep down, it's real? Last month, during the worst thunderstorm I've ever experienced, I saw a face in my window. That wouldn't be strange, except I live on the second floor. I was watching TV, wrapped in a blanket, the storm pounding the windows. The lights flickered once, and just as the room went dark for a split second, I saw it. A pale face, blank, unmoving, in the window, and then it was gone. I thought it was just my imagination, but then the next flash came, and it was still there. Closer, I stood up slowly, thinking maybe I'd left something on the balcony. Except, there's no balcony. I live on the second floor. There's nothing under that window but 15 feet of empty space and concrete. So what the hell was that face pressed against my glass? I walked to the window slowly, heart hammering. There was nothing there now, just rain. But when I looked down, there were no footprints, no ladder, nothing. And the glass was cold, too cold, like something had been breathing on it. I tried to calm down, told myself it was a reflection, a trick of the light. Then the knocking started, 3 soft knocks. Not on the door, on the window, right behind me. But when I turned around, no one was there. Just 3 wet handprints on the inside of the glass. I called my friend, rambling about a face in the window. He laughed at first, until I sent a photo of the handprints. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Wait, did you say your living room window? Didn't your old place have those too?" My blood ran cold. This wasn't the first time. I'd seen that face before, a year ago. Different town, different apartment. Suddenly I remembered. Back in college, during another storm, I saw a face in the dorm window, 1 story up. I had blocked it out, told myself it was just a dream, but now I knew it had followed me. It wasn't a ghost, it was something worse, something patient. The lights went out again. I froze. Total darkness. Then I heard the window slide open behind me, not break, not shatter, slide, like someone was letting themselves in, and I realized the face wasn't trying to get in. It already had. I ran into the hallway, slammed the door behind me, heart racing. There were no footsteps, no noise. I looked into the hallway mirror and saw something standing behind me. But when I turned, nothing. Only the mirror showed it, and it was smiling. I left that apartment that night. Never went back. Never even packed. But sometimes, when it storms, I see it again. In windows, in reflections, on bus doors, storefronts. It watches me, smiling, waiting for the next time I blink. So if you ever see a face in your 2nd floor window, don't look twice, because it already sees you. You ever hear your own mother's voice calling you, when you know without a doubt she's hundreds of miles away? I did. And if I had stepped into those woods that night, I'm not sure I'd be here telling you this. I was driving through the back roads of Washington, headed home after a week-long business trip. The storm had come out of nowhere. Sheets of rain pounding the windshield, wind howling like it had a voice. Even with my wipers on full blast, visibility was garbage, and my GPS, completely dead. No signal. I didn't want to stop, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something out there was watching. That's when I saw him, a figure walking slowly along the shoulder, soaked to the bone. Thumb out. I don't usually pick up hitchhikers, especially not in storms like that. But something about the guy felt different, like I had to stop. So I did. He got in, dripping water all over the seat. Never said his name, just stared ahead and whispered, "Stay on the road." He said it again after a mile. "Stay on the road. Don't stop for anything. And if someone calls your name from the woods, don't answer." I tried laughing it off, asking if he was joking. He turned slowly toward me, eyes wide and dead serious. "They'll use the voice of someone you love. Don't listen. Don't look." That was the last thing he said. For the next 10 minutes, he sat there in complete silence, just breathing. Eventually, he told me to pull over near a dirt trail. No signs, no lights, just woods. "Don't follow the trail," he said as he stepped out. Before I could ask anything, he disappeared into the trees, just like that. I sat there, waiting, unsure if I should keep going or turn around. That's when I heard it. My mom's voice, clear as day. "Danny," she called. "It's Mom. Come help me." My mom lives in California. I was in Washington. She couldn't be there. And yet her voice was right there, coming from the woods. "Danny, sweetheart, it's okay. Come here. I need your help." It sounded exactly like her. Every instinct told me to run. But something in my chest, some awful, primal feeling, told me that thing was using her voice. I opened the door. I almost called back. But then I saw something moving in the trees. It wasn't human, too tall. Its arms were too long, and its head, it wore my mom's face like a mask. It smiled at me just once and melted into the dark. I slammed the car door shut and hit the gas. The road twisted hard left. For a second I thought I saw the hitchhiker again, just standing in the middle of the road. Then he was gone. The storm cleared as suddenly as it came. By the time I got cell service again, I had no idea where I was. I just kept driving until the sun came up. I still think about the hitchhiker, why he got in my car, why he warned me, why he disappeared like he was never real. But sometimes, when it's quiet and I'm near the woods, I still hear her, my mom's voice, calling my name. Only now I know better. No matter what voice you hear out there, never answer when they call your name. If you ever find yourself driving through the woods at night and someone warns you not to stop, listen. Because not everything that sounds familiar is safe. Have you ever heard someone knock from the wrong side of a locked window? Because I have, and I still don't know what it wanted. But I know it knew my name. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had a math test the next morning and I was already 2 chapters behind. Everyone else was asleep. The house was quiet except for the rain tapping against the windows. I had my headphones in, some lo-fi beats playing, trying to concentrate, until I felt it, that feeling, like someone was watching me, from just outside the glass. At first I thought I imagined it, just a soft knock. 3 gentle taps, right behind me, right on the glass. I froze, slowly turned around, thinking maybe it was tree branches or the wind, but there were no trees near that side of the house. And then I saw it, a pale hand, just sitting there, pressed flat against the window. Then it started to slide down like it was smearing something oily. I jumped out of my chair and flipped on the outside light, but when the floodlight came on, there was no one there. Just rain, empty yard, no footprints in the mud, no smudges on the glass, nothing. I sat back down, trying to convince myself I imagined it, and that's when I heard it, a voice right in my ear, like someone was crouched behind me. It whispered, "Let me in." I spun around so fast I knocked over my chair. No one was there. Door was still shut, window locked. But the whisper had been real. The next night it came back. Same knock, same hand, same slow slide down the glass. But this time, it stayed longer. It didn't move until I turned off the lights. Then I saw it, its face, pressed to the glass, skin white as milk, eyes pitch black. No mouth. I grabbed my phone. I needed proof. I hit record and whispered, "Show yourself." And it did. The lights flickered, the laptop shut off, and the glass cracked. Right where the thing touched it. My phone, black screen. When I checked the video the next morning, it wasn't my room, it was footage of me, sleeping. But from outside the window, I showed my parents. They said it was just a prank or bad dream. But then things got worse. The whispers started even when I wasn't near the window, in the shower, in the hallway, even during class. "Let me in," it would say, over and over. I did some digging. Found out a boy who lived in this house years ago vanished. During a storm, from this room, all they found was his bedroom, window open, floor wet, handprints on the glass, and his last journal entry. "Something keeps knocking." Last night I didn't lock the window. I don't know why. I sat in bed waiting. Rain falling harder than ever. At exactly 3 a.m., it knocked. Only once. Then the window opened by itself. And the last thing I saw was a pale hand reaching in, followed by darkness. I'm not sure if I ever really woke up. Sometimes I think I'm still in that room, staring at the window, waiting for it to knock again. And if you're hearing this now, and you're alone, don't check the window. Just don't. Because it might already be watching. Have you ever heard a child crying outside your home in the middle of a storm? I have, and I pray you never do. Because what I heard, what I followed, wasn't a child. And whatever it was, it knows I saw it. It started just after midnight. I was reading in bed when I heard it, soft, muffled sobbing, like a child crying outside. At first I thought I imagined it. Then I heard it again, clearer this time. A wet, choking sob, over and over. I looked out the window and there, standing at the edge of the woods near my backyard, was a child. I grabbed my coat and flashlight. I couldn't just leave a child out there in that weather. But as soon as I stepped onto the porch, the crying stopped. I called out, "Hey, sweetie, are you okay?" No answer. Just rain. And then the figure moved. Not walked, ran. It bolted toward the woods, fast. Too fast. It moved like its joints were bending the wrong way. Something told me to stop. Every instinct screamed to stay inside, but I followed. The flashlight beam danced through the trees, catching glimpses of movement, branches shifting, puddles rippling, something darting just out of sight. I found footprints, tiny ones, barefoot, human. But they were wrong, spaced too far apart, like the child was leaping. And then they stopped, just ended. In the middle of the mud, I turned around to go home, and I swear something was behind a tree. Not the child, taller. Still, I shined my light toward it, nothing there, but I could feel it watching, not like being followed, like it was already inside my head. I ran home. I locked the doors. I didn't sleep. That night I had a dream. I was standing in my backyard. The rain was gone. The child was at the tree line again, but closer. Its eyes were hollow, mouth hanging open, but the crying was coming from the sky like 100 voices weeping at once. Then the child lifted its hand and pointed to my bedroom window. I woke up gasping, and my bedroom window was open. I called the police the next day. They checked the woods, said there was no sign of anyone, no footprints, no child reported missing. They looked at me like I was making it up, but when I walked them out back, the muddy prints were gone. All of them, like they'd been wiped away. Only I remembered, and something wanted me to forget. That's when things got strange. My TV turned on by itself, always to static. My phone rang with no caller ID, but when I answered, it was the sound of rain and soft sobbing. I'd wake up with muddy footprints on my hardwood floors, leading to the back door. And one night I heard tapping on my window. Not knocking, tapping like small fingers. I pulled back the curtain once, and it was there, its face, soaked, pale, mouth open like it was screaming, but no sound came out. Eyes black as oil. Then it was gone, like it melted into the glass. I fell back. I couldn't move. I couldn't even scream. The final time, I heard crying from inside the house. I followed it down the hallway. My floorboards were wet. The trail led to the closet. I opened it slowly. Nothing. But when I turned around, the child was standing at the end of the hallway. It smiled this time and vanished in front of me. I left that house the next morning. Haven't been back. I've moved 3 times since then, but sometimes I still hear crying in the rain. Sometimes I find muddy prints under my windows, and I don't sleep when it storms, because now I know it's still looking for someone. And next time, it might not stop at the woods. I still see him when I close my eyes, the man behind the tree, just standing there, always watching, always waiting. I don't walk my dog at night anymore, not after what happened that evening. Rain, mud, silence, and a face I'll never forget. It started like any normal evening. Just me, my dog, and a light drizzle. We took the wooded trail behind my apartment complex in rural Oregon. I liked the quiet, he liked the squirrels. But that night, it was too quiet. No crickets, no wind, just the sound of wet leaves under my shoes. We were about halfway through when my dog froze. He just stopped, ears perked, staring into the trees. That's when I saw him. A man, barely visible, peeking from behind a tree, not walking, not moving, just watching. I thought it was a trick of the light, but I blinked, and he was still there. I tugged the leash, tried to ignore it, probably just someone else on the trail. But when I turned the next corner, my dog growled, and there he was again, behind another tree, same distance, same posture, like he hadn't moved but somehow had. No footsteps, no sound. I turned around, fast. Nobody was behind me. I picked up the pace, but so did he. Every time I looked over my shoulder, he was there, behind another tree. Never closer, never farther, just there, like the forest was bending for him. I reached the trailhead, or at least I thought I did, but the forest looked wrong. The path looped back. The signs were gone. Even my dog was panicking, pulling hard, tail between his legs. And the man, he was closer now, right behind the tree across from me, staring. I swear I heard it, just once. A whisper in the trees, "Don't run." It wasn't threatening. It was cold, almost sad. But I ran anyway. Branches clawed my jacket, mud soaked my shoes. But I didn't look back. I didn't want to know how close he was. We broke out of the forest into the neighborhood. I turned around. Nothing. No man. No sound. Just trees. I stood there soaked, heart pounding. My dog whimpered, and for a moment I thought it was over, until I saw the tree in my front yard and the shape behind it. I called the cops. They searched the woods, found nothing. No footprints, no signs of anyone. But I know what I saw. My dog still won't go near that trail. And sometimes, when it rains, I see footprints by that tree, fresh ones, leading nowhere. If you ever see someone watching you from behind a tree, don't approach, don't run, don't look away, just back up, slowly. Because some things in the woods don't follow the rules of this world. And once they see you, they never forget you. Do you know what it's like to hear breathing in your room when you're completely alone? I'm not talking about creaks or wind. I mean actual, slow, human breathing. It started one night during a thunderstorm. I was half asleep when I heard it, deep, steady breaths coming from my bedroom closet. I turned on the lamp, opened the door. Nothing, just clothes. But the sound had stopped the second I moved. It only ever happened when it rained, which was weird, but also easy to dismiss. Rain plays tricks on the mind, right? But after the fourth or fifth time, I noticed something. The breathing always started at the same time, 2:14 a.m., like clockwork. By then, I'd stopped opening the closet, because every time I did, it went silent, like it knew. I tried rationalizing it, pipes, wind, imagination, but I couldn't explain the pattern, so I started sleeping with headphones. It worked for a while, until one night, my headphones were yanked off at exactly 2:14 a.m., just ripped clean off. I sat up so fast I nearly fell out of bed. The breathing was louder than ever. Closer, I snapped and threw the door open. Nothing. Again. But this time, I noticed something new. The faintest smell, like mildew, damp fabric, and the floor beneath my clothes looked darker, like someone had been standing there, or sleeping. I pushed everything aside and found it. A damp, moldy blanket shoved into the corner, and a pillow. Used, still warm. I called the landlord the next morning, told him someone might have been squatting in my unit. He didn't believe me, said the building's sealed, no access from outside, but he agreed to come check. We searched together. Nothing. He joked that I should get a cat, said they can smell things we can't. I didn't laugh. The breathing returned the next storm, but something was different. It wasn't just breathing anymore. There were clicks, like teeth, like someone grinding their jaw, and the sound didn't come from the closet. It came right next to it, like it had gotten closer. I bought a cheap security camera and pointed it at the closet. I told myself it was proof I was sane. That night, the camera glitched at exactly 2:14 a.m. Then it caught something. The closet door opened slowly, and something crawled out. I watched the footage frame by frame. It wasn't just crawling, it stopped, stared straight at the camera, then it stood up, slowly, wrongly, like its bones bent the wrong way. It walked to my bed, leaned over me, and breathed. I called the police, showed them the footage. They laughed, said it was edited, no signs of forced entry, nothing in the closet. They left me with a warning about wasting time. But that night, the breathing was back. Only this time, it wasn't coming from the closet. It was right above me. I didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling until morning. But sleep came anyway, and so did the dream. I was in the closet, trapped inside it, wet walls pressing in on me. Something was behind me, breathing against the back of my neck. When I turned around, it was me. But my mouth was wide open, breathing, and my eyes were sewn shut. I moved out the next day, left everything behind. I don't know if it followed me, but during the last thunderstorm I heard it again, that slow, deliberate breathing, not from the closet this time, from under the bed. And just like before, when I looked, there was nothing, but the smell of mold was fresh. You ever hear a sound so wrong, so out of place, that your body freezes before your mind can even understand why? That's what happened to me. The night the walls whispered my name, I thought I was alone. But something was living in the walls of that old apartment. Something that knew who I was. It was my 3rd month living there. A tiny top-floor apartment in an old building in Nagano, Japan. Cheap rent, probably because the place creaked like a coffin whenever the wind picked up. That night, the thunder was unreal. I was curled up with a book when I first heard it, a low murmur, almost like a conversation. I paused, but it wasn't coming from the floor or outside. It was coming from the wall, right behind my head. I pressed my ear to the wall. The voices weren't loud. They were almost respectful, like they didn't want me to hear. But I did. I couldn't make out the words. Just low murmuring, male and female, calm, repeating, over and over. I tapped the wall once, then twice. Silence. And then a single knockback. That's when I realized the unit next to mine had been vacant for over a year. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time the thunder shook the windows, I'd hear the voices again, murmuring, soft, but now it was closer, moving, like it was crawling through the walls. I followed the sound from my bedroom to the kitchen, to the bathroom. Always just behind the walls, always just out of reach. At 3:08 a.m., the whispering stopped. For the first time all night, silence. Then I heard it. A whisper, right by my ear, watching you. I couldn't take it anymore. The next day, I moved the bookshelf and started tapping the wall. Hollow. I peeled back the plaster with a screwdriver. Behind it, empty space, like a narrow crawl tunnel. But it wasn't the emptiness that got me. It was what was inside. Dozens of old Polaroids taped to the wooden beams. Faces. People. All looking terrified. Some photos were torn, scratched. One was of someone asleep in my bed. But it wasn't me. I burned the photo. I sealed the hole. But that night, the whispering was louder than ever. Urgent. Panicked. Almost pleading. I yelled into the wall, "What do you want?" And for the first time, the voices stopped mid-sentence. A few seconds later, one of them whispered, "We want you." Then they said my full name, not just my first, my full legal name. And I never told anyone in that building. That's when I grabbed my keys and left, just walked out the door into the pouring rain. I didn't sleep that night. I never went back to get my things. The landlord called me weeks later, said my lease was still active, asked why I vanished. I told him to burn the place down. He laughed, said I wasn't the first tenant to say that. It's been 6 months. I've moved across the country, got a new phone, new number. But last night, around 3 a.m., I heard something through the wall of my new place, faint but clear. Still watching. It knew I could hear it. because it laughed.